everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to be doing the commentary / analysis for the Tokyo special Stella Force. And sorry if I sound a bit tired or my voice sounds a bit weird, it is 7:30 in the morning. I've literally got out of bed and got ready to film because in a couple of hours I am leaving for France, so yeah. So there's going to be no reaction to the special just because lack of time when this episode fell for my personal life. So no reaction, however, I did watch this episode. On the way to work I watched a live stream of it. It was really good, really enjoyed it. Obviously it was in French. For some reason there was no dual audio track for English. There usually is on Disney Channel France, so I don't know what happened there. But whatever, I still watched it. I can't speak French fluently, but I speak it enough that I generally knew what they said. And I did really enjoy it. Definitely not my personal favourite special. I gave it 8 out of 10 if you want to know my ranking without going too much into them. New York is my absolute favourite. And then Shanghai. Then Tokyo. Then we have Reverse. And then we have London, because it had absolutely nothing to do with London. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you saw in the Tokyo special how they utilised the city and different parts of Japanese culture. And we didn't get anything remotely similar to that for London. They even got the geography incorrect. I don't know if the geography of Japan was correct, which, speaking of, I'm not Japanese, so I'm not gonna speak to how well I think like the culture of Japan was represented in the special because I'm not Japanese, although I definitely did enjoy it. If you don't know, I have a PhD and my PhD is partially in Japanese culture, although it is more in Japanese culture and how it relates to how they deal with mental health issues in Japan. So quick thoughts, I would give this episode an 8 out of 10. Thoroughly enjoyed myself on the train. Like, so usually on the train to and from work I'm reading, and I'm quite an expressive reader, so when something happens I'm like, oh. Like, I don't tend to make noises, but I am. Like my face, and I get weird looks on the train. I was doing the same thing with this. And the ending. Oh my god, I was on the train to work and I saw that ending. I was just like, how dare you do this to me? The ending was the best part. Anyway, 8 out of 10. First of all, one thing I really enjoyed seeing was when it was the 3D sections, not the 2D. I really enjoyed seeing the older models, because to me they just, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, they look so much more like the characters in the newer ones. Sorry, but I also really enjoyed seeing the 2D style, since I actually prefer 2D animation over 3D. I'm not really sure why. I just do. I think growing up, most of the animated shows I saw were 2D. Like, I used to watch a lot of Pokemon, which was 2D. There was this weird X-Men animation on that was 2D. I think the only animation I enjoyed growing up that was 3D was the Bratz animation. Bratz animated show. That was a great show. I love that show. Anyway, I thought it had a really, really great pace, and I do think the special worked without Adrian. I was a little bit worried going into it, and don't get me wrong, I love Adrian, and I can't wait for what happened at the end. I love him, but I was a bit unsure how it would go without him and Cat Noir. But I thought it was a good job. And if you're wondering what like my favourite new characters are, I've forgotten everyone's names, but Sagittarius, who I think is Mayot, and the Aries guy, the red guy. Is he called Billy? I will learn everyone's names, okay? There were 12 of them. Alright, I'm not gonna remember them straight away. I take a while with names. I still haven't learned all the episode list for season 6, okay? I'm only learning them as they come out. I will get there, just not today. And I'm also really interested going forward, seeing what the dynamic will be between the Stella Force team in the spin-off show for them, since they already know each other's identities. So obviously it's going to be a really different dynamic to Ladybug and Cat Noir, since they have no idea. So I'm going to be interested to see what it is like going forward. So let's go. We have the opening with Kagami and Felix. I thought this was so sweet, although they're both like, oh, it's an ordeal to be so far away from each other. And I was like, first of all, you can see each other for free whenever you want because you have this power. Other people in a long distance relationship, even in the same country, okay, but just like live at opposite ends, they do not have that ability. And you two are complaining about more of Felix. Kagami was a bit like, yeah. But obviously I did like how they bookended the special with Kagami and Felix, and then Kagami calling Felix at the end because she helped to realise her true feelings for him while she was in Japan, although I definitely think that could have been done more obviously in the special, since they didn't really talk about Felix, and perhaps maybe should have had Felix on FaceTime when Kagami sent him that message or something, just so he was more prominent since Kagami's feelings and her relationships were a significant theme in this special. So I think that could have been better. But I was just a bit like, what are you on about? It's an ordeal. You see each other for free. Get it together. But I loved the space power-up outfits, the Astro power-ups. Amazing. I definitely felt in the scene that Felix was a lot more like into their relationship. Like Kagami leaves first, he kind of lingers before he goes. So I really enjoyed that detail. Then we move on to the Adrianette scene. And first of all, as much as I thought the dance of the New York special was cute and the one in Despair Bear, I actually hate the song. I hate it so much. But then when Kagami arrives, she's like, I gotta go read my parents' bedtime story. Classic Marinette. Excellent. The Tiki and Long reunion, I am all for a good Kwame interaction. Loved that. And then we find out that the Stella Force team are a brand new group of heroes, which I thought was interesting, especially when you find out later on when they win against the kaiju, the robot one. They discover this person inside it and they basically kill him, the taxi driver, until Ladybug does the miraculous Ladybug to bring him back to life. So when this other kaiju attacked Town Hall in Japan, did they kill him? Or whoever was the kaiju in that situation? And was it Town Hall or was it the Diet Building, which is like the Parliament in Tokyo? I only know that from playing Persona 5. I love Persona 5. Anyway, so then Marinette just ends up on the plane. I thought this bit was absolutely hilarious. Although, like, her parents were one floor below her. If you don't know the structure of Marinette's house, it's Marinette's balcony on the roof, Marinette's bedroom, living and kitchen room. They were literally one floor below. Like, I appreciate it for its humour, but I was just like, okay, whatever. Thought that was funny. And then Kagami's clothes, she's like, oh yeah, I have clothes on the plane. It's the same school uniform. Great. And then Marinette, she's like, do you have a sewing machine? And then just sews herself the exact same outfit she wears. Although, right, as much as I appreciated the comedy effect of her wearing bunny slippers for basically the entire special, unless she was Ladybug, could they not have found her a pair of shoes in Japan? Not have to be expensive. Something cheap. No, just slippers the whole time. Okay, and then we have Tiki going in people's ears. And maybe it's just my aversion to people going in ears and, you know, caused by Mega Leech, which I still get flashbacks to. I can't watch that episode, or if I do, I have to close my eyes. When it gets to the ear bit, I can't do it. Why? Why did they decide that? But anyway, one thing I felt they needed for this bit was to really... Right, Kagami and Marinette going all the way to Japan to try and solve this problem. And as Ladybug says during the first battle, she's like, I mean, yeah, they're a bit uncoordinated, but like get it together. Her and Cat Noir are uncoordinated at the start, but like, they managed to be fine. I definitely feel that during you saw the group chat, that it really wasn't that serious. It was just like typical group chat banter. Like, if I had seen that, I wouldn't have been like, oh my god, I need to go and help my friends, I need to fly to another country and really seriously help them. So, in the Tokyo special, as much as I enjoyed it, because there was a lot of humour in it, which I do think Miraculous for the most part does really well, I'm not sure the stakes were quite high enough for me, because, I don't know, if as a person maybe I just don't care enough, but if I was in a group chat and I saw them like having a little argument about something like that, I'd be like, right, I'll just leave you to it then, I'm not going to get involved. Because you'll sort it out yourselves. Like, it wasn't that serious, there wasn't really anything serious going on. Like, it was just a bit, okay, they're having a bit of an argument, it's like banter. Alright, I don't know. Maybe that speaks to how Kagami doesn't understand interactions that well, but I was just like, I'm sorry, that's not enough to get me to fly all the way to Japan. But anyway, they arrive in Japan, and the music when they're driving through Tokyo and seeing all the different sites like the Shibuya Crossing or whatever, it really reminded me of the music from Persona 5, which I loved. Taxi driver, our favourite character in the special, he was great. So then we meet Kagami's grandma, which she was great, loved her, thought she was so sweet, although Marinette at one point in the special, I don't think it's in this first scene, she addresses her grandma as Mrs. Tsurugi, so Kagami's mum, presumably. Because I'm assuming, I don't know, I know Felix and Adrian have a mum and a dad, even though they're Senti monsters, but Kagami has never once mentioned a dad, so this whole time I have just assumed Tomoe was like, yep, this is my daughter, conceived with no one. Which obviously she didn't need to because she's a Senti monster, she doesn't need to conceive in the, I guess, the most regular, natural way. Obviously I know it's not possible for everyone, but that's how most people do it. So I just assumed this whole time she didn't have a dad, but I just did find it weird that Tomoe's presumably mum was so nice and well adjusted, basically. But okay, whatever. And then we get to the scene with the modeller, and first of all I'd like to ask, where on earth were they? In a volcano? Is Mount Fuji a volcano? I didn't think it was active though. I don't know much about volcanoes in Japan. I won't lie, I have no idea. My PhD was in Japanese mental health, not Japanese volcanoes. Please tell me. I have no clue. But I did find the modeller stuff really, really interesting with the Supreme. It raises a lot of questions, but I didn't mind that they weren't answered in the special, because I'm assuming it's going to be, first of all, something I can theorise about, but also second of all, explored more in the spin-off show, since the Supreme and the modeller seem like they're going to be the main antagonists for the Stella Force team in that. But I was just like, where on earth are you? And I also found it interesting as well that they basically seemed like aliens, like they were on like literally like on a spaceship, and there were those 3 people. There was like the volcano man, there was like the plant lady, and another person that I've completely forgotten about, but okay. Then we have the food scene, and I love Marinette's facial expressions in this scene, but also the whole episode. I loved it so much. That's why I like 2D animation more, especially in like more Japanese style. They have really fun facial expressions, so I really enjoyed it. And then, oh my god, the bath scene, finding out what happened to Kagami on her 14th birthday. Insane. But then for Tomoe, so they moved to Paris and she replicates the exact same office in Paris, like it's the exact same. You have the same view, like as you find out the Tokyo Tower is modelled after the Eiffel Tower. And she has the same view. Like when they're coming down the place, like Marinette sees Tokyo Tower, she's like, oh, it's not that different from Paris. I mean, it is very different from Paris, but you know, whatever. And then we have the flashback. We meet Miki and the rest of the Stella Force team, and she reveals she can kickbox, which, same Miki, fun fact about Hayes, Hayes can kickbox. Although Miki, you absolutely would have broken your wrists punching those pads that were powered by a machine. Anyway, and I really enjoyed how Kagami was basically really true to herself in this scene, where honestly Kagami I do think is autistic. She was super literal, and Miki said you just have to hit the button, so Kagami does. She doesn't physically go up and hit the button, but she still hits the button. So that was great, and I thought Kazuno was so sweet in this scene. I really liked Kazuno. He was really nice, and I really liked the scene in the arcade with the dancing. I thought it was so cool. It looked really cool. Although one thing I did find a bit weird, so in this flashback Kagami basically says like she doesn't really understand why Kazuno is in love with Miki, because she is hard on everyone, including him, including Kazuno. But I was just like, I found it a bit weird that Kagami managed to understand that when prior to basically like halfway through season 5, Kagami is also rather hard on a lot of people, including Adrian. For example, at the start of Lies, when he's gone to pose as a model, she's honestly quite rude to him, and then at the end of the episode I understand he's hurt her, but she shoves him against a wall, which is horrible. And I still remember I was really annoyed about that when I watched Lies, and the amount of people who were just like, no, I'm not having it, she was allowed to do that to him. I'm sorry, no. One of the reasons I haven't been fond of Kagami is that, the other is basically the events of the episode froze her. So I was like, no, absolutely not having that. But do you know what I mean? Like, for Kagami to recognise that Miki is hard on everyone, because I agree, Miki is seemingly hard on everyone from what we saw. Obviously it was difficult to split screen time in this episode because there were so many of them. So Kagami wasn't wrong, but I was just a bit like, yeah, so are you, Kagami? What's your point? And then, right, I do believe that Kagami is no longer in love with Kazuno. I agree with that. But I wasn't sure when I was watching the special, and I'm not sure if it was because it was written like that we weren't meant to be sure, or it just wasn't communicated well enough, but I couldn't tell if Kazuno was still in love with Kagami. Part of me was just like, he valued her as a friend, and it ended really badly, as we find out later, which we'll talk more about that when we get there. But I was just a bit like, I couldn't work it out. But again, I'm not sure if it's meant to be ambiguous, but again, I'm also not sure it matters, since Kazuno does seem like he's in love with Miki, and Kagami's dating Felix now, and I'm pretty sure she does love him. So, as much as I'm not the biggest fans of Kagami and Felix, I do think they work really well as a couple. So yeah, I was a bit unsure about that. And then we get the first fight, and I really enjoyed seeing the different weapons. Obviously they can club together and make one weapon, like we saw the 4 of them do, like the gun, ray gun, whatever it was. And then Miki does her power and she gets a sword, and then Aries has like 2 guns, Sagittarius has the big shield, and then I think Yuli was a pink one. I can't remember if she had a certain weapon or not, but really enjoyed that, so I'm going to be having fun working out what everyone's weapons are going to be. But then, okay, the marks in the battle. I understand they were a significant reason why they won, but I felt that the defeat was too easy, and I definitely think, I mean, first of all, I'm a bit confused why no one else could see them during the fight, and also why they disappeared. Don't get that. And I definitely feel, since they were a big part of why they won the fight at the end of the episode, I definitely feel they needed to be a lot more significant here, since they were so important. But then, like I said before, like, did they murder someone? It seems like, because we find out from Kagami they're a brand new team, and it seems like they've only been in the field once, which was the Japanese town hall, or the Tokyo town hall. Did they murder whoever was in the kaiju then? And then Ladybug, when she realises what's going on, like, oh, it's a taxi driver, we need to you know, resurrect this man. I only thought the Miraculous Ladybugs could be used for Kumas, or is it just like damage in general? I also really enjoyed seeing Miki and Kagami's interactions, and that they have the exact same dynamic, even though Miki has no clue that Kagami is Ryuko at that point. That was fun. Although I am wondering when exactly this special is set, because so we see in Revelator, or Relevator, whatever it's called, that Kagami powers up the Dragon Miraculous. Fine, cool. However, in this episode, in both fights, she uses, like, for example, Wind Dragon quite a few times. So surely she'd have to de-transform if she hadn't already powered up, but then she has the new outfit when she's powered up. So I don't know if that's like a little bit of a mistake. Like, Marinette, fair enough, had already powered up earlier on in season 5, so that's not an issue, but I was just like, when exactly is this set, since Kagami does more than one Wind Dragon? I think, like, in the first fight she does like 3 Wind Dragons. I wasn't counting properly. I was just like, oh, you've done that more than once, so you didn't transform back. The Dragon Miraculous just confused me because it's the 3 powers, but I thought you could use each power once within one transformation and then you'd have to recharge, not use wind like 3 times or something. So a little bit confused there. And then after the fight when Kazuna goes home, we get to see the watch sprites, which I guess the watches are the equivalent of the Miraculous, but are also like at the same time Kwamis. Or whatever. I think Thomas Iron was on Twitter yesterday, said they're called sprites, not the techno pixies thing. Honestly, I'm not really sure how I feel about them yet. They do look a bit like flying cockroaches, to be honest. So I'm trying not to judge them too much. I'll just wait till we get the spin-off. Whatever that'll be. I think it's meant to be the next year or the year after. I'll just wait. I'll reserve my opinion till then. But I did think Kazuno's sprite was very, very sweet to them. I do really enjoy one thing about Miraculous I enjoy is the relationships the kids have with Kwame, not so much with Nuru, since Nuru just gets used and abused. I hope one day he can lead a happy life. But for the most part, I enjoy seeing that in Miraculous. And then the scene between Kagami and Marinette, where Kagami's crying and they're all like down in their beds. That was so cute, it was so sweet. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Kagami, but I do really enjoy her relationship with Marinette. And then we get the super interesting scene with the Modeler and the Supreme about the Stellar Matrix. So first of all, it seems to be those little pieces of gold they all keep on them are part of the Stellar Matrix along with the watches, although Kazuno, when he transforms later, seems to like take it out of his like big collar or whatever on his jumper. I would lose that. If you gave me a piece of this, you aren't never saying that again. It's like if I put one of my earrings in my pocket and I'm like, that's lost. It's gone to the void now. I'm never getting that back. That's why I don't put earrings in my pockets. Because no, if I need to take an earring out for whatever reason, I will usually try and pierce it through whatever clothing I'm wearing, so I know I'll actually find it afterwards. You know? I know I'm prone to losing things, so we have to do that. But I definitely thought what we found out was interesting. So basically, the Modeler is like the Supreme's representation in Tokyo, and the Supreme can escape from whoever they may be if they get all the pieces of the Stellar Matrix, which again I'm assuming is like the watches and the little gold thing. Cool. So what is he trying to escape from, the Supreme? The parallel universe? Or is he just completely different Supreme to the one we heard about? I don't know. But personally, I really don't mind waiting until we get the spin-off show to find out more, because I think if we did find out in this special, it would have just been too much information. And then we have the festival. I loved Marinette's little plan, getting Kagami's fingerprints, like, I'm gonna text all of her friends. And then Kazuna was like, yeah, that clearly wasn't Kagami. Miki also worked it out as well. I'm really excited to meet the rest of the characters properly. I've already forgotten all of their names, especially the Virgo person, because I'm a Virgo, if you're interested. Virgo Sun, Aquarius Moon, Leo Rising, if you wanted to know. I can't wait to find out more about them. I've already forgotten everybody's names. I'm not good at learning names, whatever. And I also really enjoyed the festival. I love the look of Japanese festivals. They look so much fun. My favourite parts of anime is usually when the characters go to a festival. I love a good festival. We don't have anything comparable to it in the UK, really. So, apart from maybe a Christmas market, which is very, very different. But I really am interested in Japanese festivals, so I was really glad we got to see one in the special. But earlier on, when Marinette and Kagami are eating with her grandma basically tells a story of why this festival is like significant or whatever. So I'm wondering, does that play into Kazuna and Miki? Sort of? Because they do seem, even though they are in love with each other apparently, they do seem quite opposite to each other. So they're not very similar, which seems like the people in the story didn't seem very similar. They were like a forbidden love, so is it maybe meant to be reflective of that? I wasn't sure, to be honest, because they didn't like, she mentioned it once, it was never mentioned again. I was like, okay. And then one thing I did quite enjoy actually is that, so obviously the modeler went to the fishing boat to turn all these people into monsters, but then he also turned the fish into the monsters as well, which I thought was really cool. I thought it was really interesting. And then Marinette and Miki are heading to Kazuno's. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really get why Miki doesn't, like, not that she, I don't think, I was about to say she doesn't want to be with Kazuno. I do think she wants to be with Kazuno, but I'm just a bit confused why they're not together. If Miki is aware that Kazuno is in love with her and she returns his feelings, why isn't she saying anything? Because honestly, I don't think Kazuno knows that Miki is in love with him. I think Miki is only aware of this. So why on earth aren't they together? I don't really get it. Someone explain it to me, because I was just like, okay. Do you not feel like you could be on this team? But it sounds like they've been in love with each other for much longer than the Stella Force has existed. I was just really confused by it. I was like, okay. Maybe, again, they'll delve more into it in the spin-off show, why Miki is like, yeah, we're in love with each other. But no. Maybe they'll do it then, but right now I'm like, okay. So then the battle starts, and it starts with the kids fighting without them having been transformed, which I guess is useful, that they're all great fighters. And then we have Kagami letting everyone know her secret identity. Really good with keeping secrets, Kagami. And then we have Marinette with Miki and Kazuno. The transformations, and Marinette's like, oh my god, what am I about to watch? She was so funny in this episode. She was great. I really enjoy it when she's not as serious, when they give her a more comic relief episode. Like in The Ruler, for example. By and large, it was a very serious episode, but Marinette's role in The Ruler was quite funny. So I like it when she gets to do that, because she's really good. But the transformation sequence, I love them so much. They are quite different to the ones for the Parisian heroes, but I still really enjoy them. So then Marinette also transforms and she does her lucky charm, and then Kagami, when they start fighting, she's like, you can't tell anyone about the secret. And then as soon as Kazuno turns up, I think it's Sagittarius, she's like, hey, did you know Kagami's Ryuku? Thanks, Sagittarius. And then we get Marinette, who in my opinion was definitely having a bit of a Akira reference with the med spec. Akira is one of my favourite films of all time. They also referenced it in Queen Banana, so I feel like it's safe to say they did it again, because I love Akira. If you haven't seen Akira, what are you doing with your life? Watch Akira right now. After this video, finish the video, and then go and watch Akira. It's so good. Okay, and at this point, I liked the fact that Miki was turned into a fish in order to, like, incapacitate her to get her away. Cool. But I do feel that it was a really easy save, in that Marinette just does Miraculous Ladybug and it basically turns everyone who was turned into a fish or whatever back, because they're victims and not the villain. And I just feel like it was too easy. I understand later on she keeps doing it and she's exhausted and the villains keep getting bigger and she's at that point was like, I can't do anything else. I did like that, but I just found like it was too easy to save Miki. And then the next scene, I also have a bit of an issue with. So we get a flashback to basically Kagami telling Kazuno, hey, I'm moving to France. Cool. And she also wants to tell Kazuno how she feels, but because of Kagami's lack of understanding around feelings, due to possibly her mother, also possibly arguably due to her autism, because I do think she's autistic, which I'm not saying that as an insult, by the way. If you didn't know, I am autistic. And she tells Kazuno that he's basically a terrible dancer. And it's like, I find suffering in your dancing, and she runs off. And this is gonna sound mean, but in my opinion, I don't think Kagami telling him that and then leaving would be enough to cause all of this turmoil among the Stella Force team. Don't get me wrong, what Kagami said was horrible. I'm not pretending it wasn't, but it happened almost a year ago in terms of the Miraculous timeline. I'm not saying things that happened a while ago can't still affect you. Of course, they absolutely can. But it was quite a small thing, and then she leaves and he doesn't have to see her for almost an entire year. So I'm a bit confused. If it had been more prolonged, or other people on the Stella Force team were also telling Kazuno he was basically useless or whatever, or maybe if he never joined up in the first place, and basically in this episode is kind of like not only the Stella Force getting together properly as a team, but also Kazuno's origin as becoming the Capricorn hero, I think it possibly would have worked better. You know what I mean? Like, because I just, again, like, one of the things with this episode is the way they defeated villains was honestly quite easy, and there weren't enough stakes in it. As like, was Kazuno a bit upset? Yeah, of course he was upset. He's every right to be upset by being told that by someone he thought he was friends with. But I just didn't feel like it was enough to cause this absolutely massive crisis of confidence that not only is affecting Kazuno, arguably his relationship with Miki, but this entire team and the safety of Tokyo. I think it was a bit much to pin all of that on Kagami a year ago, saying this one line to Kazuno and then leaving for France. And I just felt like it was a bit too much to all put on her, that like basically this is all Kagami's fault. I'm not saying she was completely blameless in this. I know she's not, but I thought it was a bit much. I felt like if there'd been more to it, and that, let's say, for the first town hall attack or whatever, there was no Capricorn, it was just everyone else, the 11 of them, and they were like, oh, we couldn't form the Stella Mecha, whatever it was called, because we didn't have a Capricorn and we want it to be Kazuno. I'm assuming you have to be Capricorn to use it, but I don't actually know, they didn't go into it, like, I'm assuming Miki is a Leo. But again, don't know, they didn't tell us. And maybe Kazuno's the only Capricorn they trust, but he refuses to join even though he's in the group chat, and maybe he's shut down, closed everyone out, and maybe because Miki is in love with him, she's getting worried about him, and that's causing even more rifts in the Stella Force team. See what I mean? Like, it would have been really easy to implement some bigger stakes, but they just didn't really do it, so I just felt, I know it sounds mean, but to me, Kazuno wasn't really upset enough to have caused all of this, in my opinion. Like, could what Kagami said have definitely made him lose his confidence? Yeah, absolutely, I'm not pretending it would. If someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh, okay, thanks. But like, I'd be fine, especially like a year later. So I just felt there needed to be more. It doesn't have to be the reasons I've given, it could have been something else, but just to make the stakes higher. Just needed more, basically. So then Marinette's doing the Lucky Charms. Again, I felt that. It was just so easy. I was like, no, sorry, I feel like you all need to fight properly. And then they do the mechas, and I really enjoyed how similar Marinette's was to like a Neon Genesis Evangelion mecha, like those Evas. That was really cool. And then of course we don't have Miraculous Ladybug to save the city, and I kind of liked where this was going, where they've won, everything's great, apart from that Tokyo is partially destroyed. And Ladybug is like, look, I can do Miraculous Ladybug, but I'm not going to be here. I'm going back to France, I'm not moving in. You're going to have to sort things out themselves. And they just all discover the powers to Miraculous Stella Force. Now, I'm going to be interested to see in the spin-off. I would assume it's going to be similar in terms of the usage of the heroes to the mainline show, in that Ladybug and Cat Noir are always present and they call on whoever, whether that's one person, 3, 5, everyone, but Marinette can still do the Miraculous Ladybug on her own. For the Miraculous Stella Force, do they need everyone? Can Miki, who seems to be in charge, she seems like she's going to be the main character of the spin-off, can she do it on her own if no one else is around and available? Like the first battle we see in the special, there's only 5 of them, so it's Leo, Capricorn, Sagittarius, Aries, is Pink Cancer? I've already forgotten. I did a whole video on it and I've already forgotten. Like in my theory video. So let's say they knew about that ability when it was just the 5 of them for that fight. Could they still do it? Or do they need the whole 12 Zodiacs to repair the city? How does it work? I'm going to be interested to find out. So then we end the episode with back at the festival with the fireworks, everyone in the kimonos or yukata. I do not know the difference. I know yukata is like a thinner kimono meant for summer, and it was in the summer this episode, but everyone looked absolutely amazing. But god, like these idiots. I'm surprised they managed to keep their own secret identities secret for this long. Because like immediately at the festival, I think it's Yulu, she's like, oh my god, did you know Kagami is Ryuku? Although I was surprised none of them worked out that Marinette was Ladybug, because I'm like, if you know Kagami is Ryuku and you're also aware that Ladybug is French, like my art was 100% Ladybug is French, I'm surprised it didn't work out Marinette was Ladybug. Like, doesn't take much. You know what I mean? And also speaking of, I just remembered, at the end of the first big fight we see, and Kazuno and Ryuku talk, he's like, you remind me of Kagami or whatever, and I was just like, quantum masking who? Sorry? So basically if Kazuno was Hawkmoth, it all would have been over years ago. But again, Miki and Kazuno, I just don't get it. They seem like they're in love with each other, and sounds like they are, so I'm just like, just date! I don't get the issue. I don't get it. Then we have, on the plane coming back, I liked that it was the reason that Kagami changes her style. Really thought that was cool. Then Marinette sends the voice message to Adrien, and then Kagami to Felix. And like I said at the start of the video, I do think it would have been more impactful if Felix had actually appeared, like on FaceTime or whatever. So now let's talk about the ending, and oh my god! Favourite part of the episode, best bit of the episode, oh my god. If I was just rating this scene alone, 10 out of 10 best scene in the show, apart from the guilt trip boiler room scene, don't think I'd beat that, my one true love. But I loved it. Had I filmed a reaction, you would have seen my face, oh my god. Amazing. So first of all, Aeon is back. If you don't know, Aeon. Tied with Mark, my favourite character. I love her to pieces. She is my daughter. Okay. So at the start of the episode you find out Adrien is in New York. Honestly, when the episode started I didn't really think much of it, to be fair. I was like, oh, he's in New York. Don't know what for since he's no longer modelling, but he's just in New York having a nice little holiday or whatever. Cool. Although why he told Marinette that, and I'm assuming she's going to find out Cat Noir was in New York when she gets home. She's like, oh, Adrien was in New York. What a coinkydink, because she won't think anything else of it. And it was just, oh my god, amazing, where Adrien is just like, yeah, I'll reply to that later, we're gonna do this. And then I think in the sky, so it's him as Cat Noir, we have Aeon, Eagle, Majestia, and I'm assuming that was, oh, what are they called? Jess's mum, oh my god, what's her name? Hawk? No. The New York special's my favourite and I've forgotten her name. Whatever her name is. Okay, I'm assuming it was her on the other side. The hand reaching through, I'm not really sure what it means. But I was just, oh my god, amazing. And you know, he wasn't really in the special apart from the start and the end. So I think it stands to reason he gets a special himself. They better do it. Just like they promised us, like the London special was going to be with Miss Rose and then she wasn't in it. They make promises a lot and then often that doesn't really manifest, but I'd be very excited to see this. I'm so excited for that. Oh my god. Oh. I was like walking to work and I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. I was thinking about it the whole day at work. I was like, Aeon and Adrien. I can't wait. So excited. So yeah, and I hope it's gonna be really good for Adrien as a character, getting a really good chunk of screen time where he gets a serious role and he gets to be the true male lead that he is. So I've got a lot of theory videos to make. I've still got loads to do from the episodes we've been seeing recently, but I want to do a theory video about Adrian, and also possibly we do know he is depressed in season 6. Obviously I would assume it's due to his dad, but does something more happen in this special that we're going to get that makes him like that? And also about like the modeler and the Supreme and what they're up to, and those like 3 other aliens that were with them. See, try and work out who they are and what they all want. So overall, I would give this episode an 8 out of 10, and I think the MVP has to go to Kagami because I think she did a great job. But yeah, overall, I just feel like the episode needed more stakes. Like the thing with the marks was cool on the different like monsters and stuff, and I'm assuming it's where the red discs or whatever attached to them. I'm assuming it's that. But I just definitely feel like, first of all, it wasn't explained what it was, because I think it's that, but I don't actually know. So I definitely think that needed to be more significant, more prominent. But anyway, otherwise, really enjoyed it. I'd love to know what the rest of you think. Sorry this video is late, I had to work and now I'm going to France. Unavoidable. But anyway, I'd love to know what you'll think of this episode. If you're gonna leave me a long comment, that's fine. I can't wait to read it. Just please split it into paragraphs so it's easier for me to read due to my terrible eyesight. But anyway, besties, I'd love to know what you think of this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!